Have you ever watched a moth relentlessly drawn to a flame, even as its wings singe and crumble? A tragic, almost hypnotic dance of destruction? Perhaps you've witnessed it in someone you love, or even recognized the unsettling echo within your own life. The persistent return to a relationship that wounds, diminishes, and ultimately threatens to consume. We whisper judgments, offer unsolicited advice, wondering aloud, why don't they just leave? But what if the chains that bind are not forged from mere naivete or a lack of willpower? What if they are spun from threads far older, darker, woven into the very fabric of our being, resonating with echoes of ancient wounds and primal fears? Are we truly free agents in matters of the heart, or are we puppets dancing to a tune played by unseen forces, guided by a script written long before we took our first breath? Tonight, we delve into the shadowed labyrinth of the human psyche, venturing beyond the surface explanations of low self-esteem or financial dependence. We will explore the uncomfortable truth that sometimes, the very pain we endure in these destructive unions serves a hidden, almost perverse purpose. A purpose rooted in the deepest recesses of the unconscious, a purpose that whispers promises of completion, even as it delivers only devastation. Think for a moment about the stories we tell ourselves about love. The fairy tales, the romantic comedies, the idealized narratives that permeate our culture. They paint a picture of effortless bliss, of soulmates who effortlessly understand each other, of relationships that require no work, no sacrifice, no confrontation with our own inner demons. But what happens when reality crashes against this fragile fantasy? What happens when the prince turns into a monster, or the princess reveals a darkness of her own? Do we simply walk away, unscathed and wiser? Or do we find ourselves strangely, disturbingly compelled to stay, to fight, to fix, to somehow transform the nightmare into the dream we were promised? Is it possible that we are unconsciously drawn to these toxic patterns, seeking to resolve some ancient trauma, to rewrite a painful chapter from our past? Consider the concept of the shadow self, that hidden repository of all the traits we deem unacceptable, the emotions we suppress, the desires we deny. What if the abuser in our life is merely a mirror, reflecting back to us the very darkness we refuse to acknowledge within ourselves? What if, on some subconscious level, we believe that by enduring their cruelty, we can somehow purify ourselves, atone for our perceived sins, and finally become worthy of love? This isn't about excusing abuse or blaming the victim. It's about understanding the complex, often contradictory forces that drive human behavior, the hidden energies that shape our choices, the unconscious contracts we make with ourselves and others. It's about recognizing that sometimes the most destructive relationships are not accidents, but rather meticulously orchestrated dramas, designed to force us to confront the deepest, most terrifying aspects of ourselves. Are you brave enough to look into that mirror? Are you ready to face the truth, no matter how unsettling it may be? But let's consider the less obvious angles, the subtle undercurrents propelling someone to remain anchored in a turbulent sea. Beyond the shadow, beyond the mirrored darkness, resides the archetype of the wounded healer. This is the inherent human drive to fix, to mend, to salvage, often born from personal experiences of brokenness. Is it possible that some individuals, consciously or not, gravitate toward destructive relationships believing they possess the unique ability to heal their partner's wounds, to transform them into the person they envision? Could this perceived mission, this self-appointed role of savior, be so compelling that it overshadows the mounting personal cost? Moreover, contemplate the insidious allure of intermittent reinforcement. Unlike constant negativity, which typically leads to swift disengagement, sporadic acts of kindness, affection, or remorse can create a powerful addiction. The occasional high becomes the justification for enduring prolonged periods of low. It's akin to gambling. The rare win fuels the hope of a bigger payout, trapping the individual in a cycle of chasing fleeting moments of validation. Have you ever noticed how, after a particularly brutal episode, an abuser might shower their partner with gifts, apologies, and promises of change? This calculated maneuver, often subtle, reinforces the belief that the relationship can be salvaged, that the pain is merely a temporary detour on the road to lasting happiness. Another crucial aspect is the phenomenon of learned helplessness. Prolonged exposure to controlling or abusive behavior can erode a person's sense of agency, their belief in their ability to affect change. They may start to internalize the abuser's narrative, accepting the blame for the relationship's problems and feeling powerless to escape. Think of it as a slow, insidious form of psychological conditioning, where repeated failures to improve the situation lead to a pervasive sense of hopelessness. The individual gradually loses faith in their capacity to make sound decisions, becoming increasingly dependent on the abuser for guidance and validation, further solidifying the bonds of control. Now, consider how this applies when you face societal expectations and cultural norms. Many cultures still subtly encourage women, in particular, to prioritize relationships above their own well-being, to be patient, forgiving, and understanding, even in the face of mistreatment. The pressure to conform to these traditional roles can make it incredibly difficult for someone to acknowledge the severity of their situation and seek help. Imagine the internal conflict. On one hand, the desire to uphold societal expectations. On the other, the gnawing realization that their relationship is slowly destroying them. This dissonance can create a powerful sense of shame and isolation, making it even harder to break free from the cycle of abuse. Reflecting on this journey so far, we begin to perceive a pattern emerging from the shadows. Not a simple explanation, but a complex interplay of forces that conspire to keep individuals tethered to destructive relationships. It's as if we've been tracing the contours of a hidden map, each insight revealing a new landmark, a previously unseen pathway within the labyrinth of the human heart. The question is not merely, why stay? But rather, what unseen currents are pulling them back against the tide of reason and self-preservation? Consider the cumulative weight of these forces, the echoes of past traumas resonating in the present, the seductive allure of intermittent validation, the insidious erosion of self-worth, the societal pressures to conform to outdated ideals. They converge to create a kind of psychological gravity, a powerful force field that makes escape seem not only difficult but almost impossible. It's akin to being caught in a whirlpool, where each rotation pulls you further into the center, blurring your vision and stealing your breath, until you can no longer distinguish up from down, safety from danger. We've explored the darker corners of the psyche, acknowledging the uncomfortable truth that sometimes the very pain we endure serves a hidden purpose, a twisted form of self-preservation. But understanding this doesn't absolve anyone of responsibility. Instead, it empowers us to recognize the patterns, to name the forces at play, and to begin the arduous journey of reclaiming our agency. It's about recognizing that the chains that bind us are not unbreakable, but rather intricate webs of belief, fear, and expectation that can be slowly, deliberately untangled. Drawing these strands together, we see that the path to freedom is not a single leap, but a series of small, courageous steps, each one a defiance of the forces that seek to keep us trapped. It's about challenging the narratives we've internalized, questioning the assumptions we've made about ourselves and our worth, and daring to envision a future where love is not synonymous with pain. The insights we've uncovered are not meant to provide easy answers, but rather to illuminate the path forward, to empower us to navigate the complexities of human relationships with greater awareness, compassion, and ultimately, self-respect. The final piece of this puzzle awaits, a reflection that will hopefully serve as a beacon, guiding you toward a deeper understanding of your own heart and the choices you make in the realm of love. So, where does this exploration of shadows and echoes leave us? Not, I hope, in a place of judgment or despair, but rather in a space of profound, albeit unsettling, awareness. We've peered into the abyss, not to succumb to its darkness, but to understand its contours, to recognize its deceptive allure, and ultimately, to find our way back into the light. The question that lingers, the one that perhaps keeps you awake at night, is not just why do they stay, but how do I ensure that I never have to? The answer, I believe, lies not in erecting impenetrable walls around our hearts, but in cultivating a deeper, more honest relationship with ourselves. It's about excavating the hidden corners of our psyche, confronting the shadows that lurk within, and integrating those disowned aspects of our being into a cohesive whole. For it is only when we truly know ourselves, flaws and all, that we can begin to discern the subtle whispers of our intuition, the warning signs that signal danger, and the strength to choose a different path. Consider this. The abusive relationship, in its twisted way, often presents itself as a distorted mirror, reflecting back to us aspects of ourselves that we have long suppressed or denied. It challenges us to confront our deepest fears, our most vulnerable insecurities, and our most deeply held beliefs about love and worthiness. But the key is not to become trapped in the reflection, to mistake the distorted image for reality. Instead, we must use it as a catalyst for self-discovery, a prompt to embark on an inner journey of healing and transformation. This journey requires courage, vulnerability, and a willingness to challenge the narratives that have shaped our lives. It demands that we question the assumptions we've made about ourselves and others, and that we dare to envision a future where love is not synonymous with pain. Ultimately, the decision to stay or leave is a deeply personal one, and there is no easy answer or universal solution. But the insights we've explored tonight offer a framework for understanding the complex forces at play, and for making choices that are aligned with our highest good. Remember, you are not a moth drawn helplessly to a destructive flame. You possess the power to choose your own destiny, to rewrite your own story, and to create a life filled with love, joy, and authentic connection. The true practice begins now, in the quiet moments of self-reflection, in the courageous acts of self-compassion, and in the unwavering commitment to honoring your own worth. And remember this: sometimes, the greatest act of love is not staying and trying to fix what is broken, but walking away and creating space for something new to blossom. The universe whispers secrets only to those who listen with their hearts. Will you heed the call? Subscribe for more glimpses beyond the veil.